Hello, my friend, and welcome to another exciting episode of Negotiate Anything. I'm Kwame Christian. I'm a business lawyer, mediator, professor, and the director of the American Negotiation Institute, where we conduct negotiation and conflict resolution trainings that make your difficult conversations easier. If your team might be interested in a training, check out the link in the description below to learn more. And if you like this video, make sure to give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you will be the first person to know when we create new content like this video, a reaction video where Maria, our content and marketing manager at the American Negotiation Institute, tries to stump me with videos that I have not seen before. And so we're going to just start playing it, and I will give you the gems of negotiation, psychology, communication, and conflict resolution that I see as they come up. So let's see what we have here.
Sorry, traffic coming into the city. Price of progress.
This is Dean Walker from Annika. Who's this?
The smoking gun. Ooh, that sounded dramatic.
Leonid Jabin. This is the new evidence you were talking about. Ex-Minister Jabin hasn't been in power for 20 years, and with all due respect, sir, the man is not mentally well.
Perhaps not, but in a mad world, only the mad are sane. Kurosawa.
What the hell is he talking about?
So let's pause for a second, and I will give you a disclaimer. Many people have told me to watch The Blacklist, but I have not watched The Blacklist, so I have no context here. But what we can do is we can analyze a little bit of body language and a little bit of posturing to see what's happening here. I don't even know who is on whose side. I don't know the characters, but I can tell you the story that they are telling through the way that they are interacting with each other. So the guy who's the main character of the show, the person who came in and apologized for being late, it is clear that he believes that he has the upper hand here. It is clear that he is signaling to the other side, I am confident in my position. How do we know this? So he came in late. He wasn't overly apologetic. He mentioned that he was sorry, a perfunctory apology, but it seemed very nonchalant. He didn't seem very concerned about the fact that he was late. That is a power move. You wait for me, not the other way around. Then he sits down, and again, very calm with the way that he is holding himself. And then he says something which I'm assuming, we don't know yet, I'm assuming is a setup, right? He says something that I don't understand, this guy clearly doesn't understand, to create, again, another power discrepancy here. First, it was, you wait for me, not the other way around. Now it is, I have the information, you don't. And then, by creating that confusion, it creates a little bit of need there. I have this feeling of confusion. I need to alleviate that feeling of confusion because it is uncomfortable. Who can alleviate that feeling of confusion? It is the man who created it. Now I need something more from him. So he's layering on the power dynamics in his favor. Very, very interesting. So let's see where this goes.
My new friend knows a great deal about the history of your company's pipeline.
History is not...
Now, again, notice how he's talking here, right? He got his attention by creating that information asymmetry. You need me to give information. And now look at how he was holding his chin, right? It is a very arrogant posturing, sticking your nose and chin upward as you are talking. Now, thinking about this from a body language perspective, thinking about this as just the human animal perspective, why is that so telling as to the person's position and how confident and possibly arrogant they are? So think about it. One of the most vulnerable positions for any animal is exposure of the neck. When you look at predators, when they are killing their prey, oftentimes you think about the big cats, they are latching on to the neck because that's the jugular vein. If that is gone, if that is severed, you are in big trouble. It doesn't take much for that to happen. It's an incredibly vulnerable position. And so when you think about boxing, how they say, all right, chin down, right? Because that is a protective position. It protects you. When people are afraid, they typically turtle up, right? Protecting their vital organs and protecting their neck. He is saying that you, through his body language, he's saying that you, on the other side, are so little of a threat that I am willing to put my head and neck up and expose that, because I am not at all afraid. Again, signaling power with every aspect of this interaction. Really, really fascinating. Let's continue.
Or maybe it is. As it turns out, we do agree on one key detail. Your company's current pipeline is not the worst thing on Earth.
Then what is?
The first pipeline, the one Annika built in 1988, 4 years before the current one.
One of the best things you can do in a negotiation is through the process of conversation, showing and signaling that you've done your homework. Why is this so important? First of all, it makes you more confident. Competence breeds confidence. The more competent and prepared you are, the more confident you will be during the negotiation. And I'm sure if you watch this channel, you're seeing it coming. That's why you should download our free negotiation guides, because they will help you to prepare effectively, strategically, before the negotiation begins. Part of your preparation needs to be investigation and research. And so if you go to AmericanNegotiationInstitute.com/guide, you can get access to all of our free guides. It's over 15 free negotiation guides that will help you to be more confident and prepared in your negotiations. And so here, he is showing, hey, I know more than you think I know. And in fact, the knowledge that I have is damning to you. Again, leverage. Information can be a substantial source of leverage and power in negotiation. And this begs the question, Kwame, why do we want leverage and power in our negotiations? Very simple. When you have leverage and power, it allows you to take concessions from the other side without having to make concessions to the other side. I have that power. You give me more stuff in this negotiation. That's it. Really, really simple. It gets you more concessions. So now I'm assuming that information is not good for them. And so we might start to see them adjust their position accordingly.
Probably.
There was only one pipeline. We broke ground to build it in 92.
Now pause. So he's questioning now the source of his information. He's saying, okay, you think you have information that is damning, right? Where did that information come from? Him? He is delusional. He is not a credible source, meaning that the position you think that you have, the power you think that you have, comes from a place of misinformation. So you, in fact, do not have that leverage. That is what he is trying to tell the other side. That's what he's trying to communicate in order to level the playing field. Now, if you do your research and your homework, when people try to infer or insinuate that you don't have the power that you do have, you want to make sure that you have enough research and information to substantiate your claim of position of power. All right. So all you need to do in that situation is hold your position. It will be interesting to see how he demonstrates the veracity of his information as the conversation goes on. But that's the game that's being played right now.
The contracts do say that.
It started before the wall fell. Uzbekistan was still a constituent republic of the Soviet Union. Mr. Gorbachev was changing our future. I was allowed to secretly open our markets for an American pipeline.
This is fiction.
I sold the rights to them that year, and they built the first pipeline right away. You couldn't even wait to do it right. We were all so greedy.
The first line was an unmitigated disaster. Hundreds were killed.
Whole villages became ill. I still see their faces.
Then the Soviet Union collapsed and all hell broke loose. Annika paid Mr. Zhabin to orchestrate a cover-up, bury the dead, destroy any record that the first pipeline ever existed.
And so what is happening is what I told you will happen, right? I have information that hurts you. Your information is garbage. Actually, no, it's not. Here's how I know it's not. And you continue to substantiate your claims. Very interesting. So the other side is still trying to act like it's not a big deal, but I think as they start to keep on layering on information and information, we're going to start to see this other side say, okay, my bluff isn't working, I might need to adjust. So let's see what happens next.
They're cloaked by those momentous events, hidden.
Okay, so that woman's face, is starting to show a little bit of concern. Did you see that? So the man on that side is still holding firm and pretending like it's not a big deal. But you're starting to see concern on her face, which is interesting. Let's continue.
New World Order.
It's a good story, but that's all it is. A story from a crazy old man.
Who happened to keep a complete set of the original documents in the hope that one day...
Boom! More information. Okay, so you're still going to play this game. Here is additional information. It doesn't just exist in this crazy person's mind. I actually have documentation. Keep your receipts, people. Keep your receipts. Create a paper trail. Send follow-up emails that summarize the contents of a discussion, because people will forget, and people will conveniently forget when it is not in their favor. So always create a paper trail. Always assume that there will be some problem that occurs in the future that will arise out of some level of confusion that occurred during the conversation. So you want to make sure that you are summarizing everything to substantiate your claims down the road.
Courage to set things right. Your engineers did better the second time around. At least this one took 20 years to start leaking.
If this is true, and Annika is responsible for hundreds of people's deaths, then you and the other high-level executives will be prosecuted.
Well, she's convinced. She is convinced. And now what it seems like this person is doing is leaning back, leaning away from the table to show a level of displeasure with what is occurring. This is called distancing that occurs during it's a natural human response, a natural body language that occurs when you don't like what you see. We physically have given him the documentation. The documentation is now physically in front of him, and now he's pulling back. That is a very clear sign of displeasure. Okay, so it's starting to have an impact on him.
It's going to be paid to the alleged victims. We can fix this.
Recognize the smooth adjustment in position. So essentially, let's think about this as counter offer and offer, right? So initially we came in, here's the offer. Hey, I have this information. You guys are screwed. This is over, right? I have this damning information about you. He says, I'm not adjusting my position. You have nothing. No problem. Go away. Trying to be very dismissive. They put on more information, and now he's recognizing, yes, okay, they actually do have that information. I actually am cornered. They have the power. And now he's adjusted his position from 0 to some form of reparations. Before, I wasn't going to give you anything. I wasn't even going to give you the time of day. But now I'm going to give you something. And so he says, all right, guys, let's make a deal. Let's make a deal, because she said prosecution. Here's the thing. People do not like going to jail. It's not an enjoyable place. And so he says, let's talk about civil penalties instead. Let's instead talk about what money or reparations I can give you to make this right, because the prospect of jail is not something that I find very appealing. Now let's see where this negotiation goes, because now we're actually trading proposals.
Good, but the people I represent don't want you to fix it.
They don't?
No. The Uzbek people have had quite enough of Annika's promises. They want you to leave. Pack up your pipeline and leave.
So we had offer, we had counter, and then the counter to the counter. Offer, okay, so we're saying, hey, information, you're in trouble. Counter, no problem, okay. Hey, more information, you're really in trouble. Counter, okay, fine, I'll pay you some money to get this off my plate. We don't want your money, we want you out. That's what's happening. They're still trading, I'm assuming there's going to be a big hammer that's about to drop, but there's still a back and forth that's happening. So we've gotten into the bargaining portion of the negotiation.
Denisov thought you might need some additional incentive, so Mr. Jabin was kind enough to direct him to one of the mass graves where victims of the first pipeline are buried. His men are on their way there now. I can stop them if we have a deal.
And so he's increasing the leverage and creating scarcity through the creation of a deadline. We don't know if that's true, but if it is in fact true, then the clock is ticking for this guy. Because if they discover that gravesite, now he is in big trouble. And now we're talking about criminal penalties, the kind of which he wanted to avoid. And so I like the way that he framed his offer. It's an if-then situation. I can stop this if you are able to give me what I want here. We know he doesn't want to leave. Why? He doesn't want to leave because there's clearly money there. He wants to stay there. We saw his body language when he says, no, you leave. What we said was, again, distancing, and this time distancing plus blocking behavior. So you remember earlier when I talked about the body language of protecting vital organs? That's what happens when you're doing this. The torso got a lot of good stuff in there. So if you see somebody pulling back and crossing their arms at the same time, another good sign that they don't like it. So we already know, based on his biological tells, that he does not want to leave. And now what we're seeing right here is that he's contemplating that reality. All right, what about leaving versus prosecution? What is more important to me, my freedom or potentially making more money? I think he's going to give in.
Oh, yes, of course. This is the water they drink in the villages, the ones directly above your pipeline. Drink up. Talk to your board. You have 24 hours until we go public.
Clock's ticking. There you go. When you have that type of leverage and you have a deadline, that creates a lot of pressure. And what often happens in negotiations is the closer you get to the deadline, the more likely you are to have a deal. That's why as a lawyer, they often talk about the reality of settlement that occurs on the courtroom steps, as in we are playing this game of chicken where we say, no, I've got a good position. No, I've got a good position. Okay, the day of court is coming up. I'm going to prepare for litigation as if it will occur. And then as we are walking up the courthouse steps, we say, hey, buddy, you know what? I have an offer for you. And so in all of these negotiations, the psychology that often happens is when there's a deadline, it makes it a lot more likely for a deal to occur. And so, again, with the deadline that he's created, 24 hours, not only is it more likely for them to concede, but also it's less likely for them to improve their BATNA. And BATNA is your best alternative to a negotiated agreement. You have more leverage during a negotiation if your alternative is good. So if you say no to my deal, I have this option and that's okay. The better you make that option, the more powerful you are during the negotiation. By creating that tight window, it's making it so that there is not that much time for adjustment. You do not have time to create a better alternative. So it puts the main character in a better position to succeed during this negotiation. So that's what I saw. Really fun clip. Thank you, Maria, for that. I hope you enjoyed it. What did you see? Let us know in the comments. Let's keep this conversation going. But if you liked this video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you will be the first person to know when we create new content. And our goal is to help as many people as possible with this content. And so if you give us a thumbs up, it makes it more likely for YouTube to promote this content to other people, which helps us to further the mission. So we appreciate that. And if you want a training, if you find this interesting and you think your team could benefit from a training, check out the link in the description to learn more. And thank you for listening. I'll catch you in the next one.